Hey guys, welcome to Math 10C. This course has 3 units. The first unit is measurement. So we're going to be going over how to do different unit conversions between different types of measurement of length. So inches, feet, yards, meters, centimeters, all that kind of stuff. And then the second half of this unit is going to be about surface area and volume. So today's lesson is going to be all about converting between different imperial units of measurement for length. So this is the formula sheet that we're going to be using for all of Unit 1 and 2 this year. So at the top here in this little box is the unit conversions that you're given. On this side, it's how we convert between different imperial units, and then on the other side is converting between imperial and metric units. It is important to note that you do need to know how to convert between different metric units, so between like kilometers and meters and centimeters and stuff like that, but that's not given to you. You do just have to memorize those unit conversions. You're only given conversions for converting between different imperial units, so like feet, yard, miles, inches, and converting between imperial and metric. Further down on the left-hand side here are some of the area and volume formulas that we'll be using in the second half of this unit. And then on the right-hand side here, we have some trig ratios and the Pythagorean theorem, which will come in handy in Unit 2, and then Unit 3 formulas are at the bottom here. So for the first half of this first unit, you'll just need these top 2 little boxes here. So this is lesson 1.1, Imperial Measurements. We'll start with just a definition. So a referent is an object's length, which is used to estimate a unit of measurement. So for example, and this can be used, by the way, for both imperial and metric units. So for example, like a person's foot might be used to estimate what the measurement 1 foot is. Or you might say like the width of a finger is about a centimeter, or the width of a hand, like across the palm of a hand, is about a decimeter, or the top part of your thumb, like knuckle to the end, is about an inch. So all of those are reference. They're objects that we can use to estimate a unit of measurement. Okay. So when it comes to converting between different units, there's 2 methods that we're going to be going over. One is called unit analysis, one is called proportions, and then some of you might just be able to like multiply and divide without really setting up a proportion or setting up a unit analysis. That is fine for some of you that are really comfortable converting between units, maybe you've like done construction and are just really used to doing that. I wouldn't recommend it for most of you, even though it seems really easy. Like this whole unit conversion thing seems really easy at the beginning. We're going to get into more complex unit conversions. And in the past 4 years that I've taught this, people tend to get really confused about when to multiply and when to divide if they're not setting up either a proportion or a unit analysis. So those are the 2 that we're going to be going over. You don't always have to do them if this seems really easy to you, but I would become familiar with them for when we get into more complex unit conversions. So the first type is using a proportion. And when we do that, all we're going to do is we're going to set up whatever conversion we're given on our formula sheet and then stack our units. So I'll show you what that looks like. So if I said, how many feet is equal to 37 inches? If that's the question, then the proportion I would set up, I would start, again, step 1 would be write out the conversion. So write the conversion from the formula sheet. So when we're converting between feet and inches on our formula sheet, if you look at that, let me pull mine up here, it just says that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So that is step one, is to just write out our conversion. And then step two is to stack our units. And what I mean by that is, in the question, we're just going to put the units underneath our conversion. So the unknown number of feet, I'm going to write underneath the feet in my conversion, and my 37 inches is going to go under where the inches are in my conversion. And then step three is just going to be to cross multiply and then divide. So I will cross multiply here. X times 12 is just 12x. 37 times 1 is just 37. And then in order to get the x by itself, I of course divide by 12. What I do to one side, I need to also do to the other side. So 37 divided by 12 is 3.083. Repeating, you could certainly round that to 3.08 if you would like to. Please always keep like at least 2 decimal places. Okay, the second method that we're going to be looking at is unit analysis. Just so you know, you don't have to be really comfortable with both of these methods. You can pick whichever one you prefer and just use that one every time. I love the proportion method. I use proportions not only for unit conversions, but I use them like all the time in a bunch of different subjects. I use them in my everyday life. I just love proportions. They make a lot of sense to me. So if you like ask me to like help you on a problem, that's going to be like the one I automatically go to. But other teachers, including Miss Benz and Miss Custer's, prefer the unit analysis method. So, you know, it doesn't really matter to me which one you use. If you prefer the unit analysis one, that's great too. I'm just going to have to think about it longer before I try and help you with that method. So let's go through the exact same example. So how many feet is in 37 inches, but I'll show you how to do this with unit analysis. So the way we do this is we actually write our conversion as a fraction. So in this case, instead of writing, as you did previously, that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, I'm going to write 1 foot over 12 inches. I am then going to multiply by the unit that I'm converting into. So in this case, or sorry, the unit that I'm given, not the unit that I'm converting into. So I'm going to multiply by the 37 inches. And when I do this, I always need to make sure that whatever I'm given, so in this case, inches, cancels out the inches in this fraction, and whatever I am converting into, so in this case, feet, does not get canceled out. And the way we do that is when I put this 37 in, when I multiply by this 37, I just need to make sure that it is on the opposite side of the fraction as it is in this conversion. What I mean by that is that because in this conversion inches is on the bottom, this 37 inches has to be on the top. So 37 inches like so, and then I can just put it over 1. Then I just multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So in that case, 1 foot times 37 inches is 37. And 12 times 1 is, of course, 12. And in this case, these inches cancel out because 1 is on the top and 1 is on the bottom. So it's essentially inches divided by inches, which leaves me with 37 divided by 12, which is, again, 3.08-ish feet. So the only unit that gets left behind is the unit that's in my final answer. The other 2 units cancel out. Just so you know, I could have also written this initial conversion upside down. It doesn't matter which way I write it. So I could have written it as 12 inches over 1 foot. All that means is when I multiply by the 37 inches, the 37 inches has to be on the bottom. And then there would be a 1 on the top. And again, that's just because I need these inches to cancel out, which means one has to be on top, one has to be on bottom. And yeah, when I multiply those across, let me see here. Am I doing this right? Okay, no, sorry, I lied. Ignore all of that. The reason that this isn't working is because you have to write 37 over 1 and not 1 over 37, because 37 over 1 is still 1. I mean, sorry, 37 over 1 is still 37. 1 over 37 is not still 37. So yeah, you have to decide based on where this number needs to be, how to write your unit analysis. What I mean by that is if this is inches on the top here, you have to write inches on the bottom here. If instead I was converting from feet to inches, then this initial fraction would have to be flipped upside down. So let me show you an example of what that would look like. So say, for example, I had 2.67 feet is how many inches. In this case, I'm still using the conversion between feet and inches, so 1 foot is 12 inches. But in this case, I'm going to be multiplying by 2.67 feet over 1, which means that feet have to be on the bottom in my conversion and inches need to be on top so that these feet cancel out and leaves me with inches for my final answer. So unlike in the previous example here, this example here, where we had feet over inches, this time I'm going to have inches over feet. Then when I multiply straight across, I do 12 times 2.67, which is 32.04, divided by 1 times 1, which is just 1, and then 32.04 divided by 1 is just 32.04. Okay, so this number here always has to go on top. This fraction can flip upside down depending on what unit I'm using here. If this is feet, then feet must be on the bottom. If, like in the other example, this is inches, then inches must be on the bottom. Okay, so that is how unit analysis works. Again, it's not the method that I prefer. As you can see, I'm not very good at it. I definitely prefer the proportion method, but like I said, Miss Benz and Miss Custer's really like the unit analysis method. So, you know, further on in your high school math career, that might come in handy for sure. Okay, the last thing I want to look at is how to convert with multiple units at the same time. So let's go through an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so for this example, I have said convert 132 inches to yards and feet. Now, when I say that, I don't mean convert it all into yards and then convert it all into feet. What we mean by that is convert this into a whole number of yards, and then the leftovers get converted into feet. You always convert to the largest length first. So step 1, convert to largest length. Also ignore this down here. That was for another class. So I am, of course, going to do this as a proportion because that is the one that makes sense in my head. Because I am going from inches to yards, which is the largest of these units, I'm just going to look at my formula sheet and I see that 1 yard is equal to 36 inches. So I'm going to start by writing out my conversion. Then I stack my units. Yards is what I'm looking for, so I will just write X yards. And I have my 132 inches, so I plug that in under where the inches is. Then I cross multiply. X times 36 is 36. 132 times 1 is, of course, 132. Sorry, X times 36 is 36X. Then I divide by 36 to get the X by itself. What I do to one side, I must also do to the other. So we do 132 divided by 36, which is 3.6 repeating yards. Our next step is to keep the whole number. So we're going to keep the 3, and then we're going to convert the decimal to the next smallest unit. So keep the whole number and convert the decimal to the next unit. So what that will actually look like for me is I'm going to take this 3. It is going to be my 3 yards since this is in yards, and I'm just going to put it off to the side there. This remaining 0.6 yards, I am then going to convert into feet, since I was asked to convert into yards and feet. So I'm going to convert that into feet. Once again, in order to do that, I'm going to look at my formula sheet, and on that, I'm going to see that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So I write out my conversion first. Then I stack my units. So I have 0.6 repeating yards and an unknown number of feet. Then I cross multiply. X times 1 is just X, and 3 times 0.6 repeating is 2. So it is 2 feet. And so for my final answer, I just put my 3 yards and my 2 feet together. My very final answer is just 3 yards, 3 yards, 2 feet. Okay, that is it for today's lesson. Please let me know if you have any questions.